My name is Tom Estes, and I'm the pastor of the Southside Baptist Church in Winter Haven, Florida. And what we've decided to do for the new year is something a little different. We're starting a series called Sermon a Day. And our plan is to do a 5-minute sermon for all 365 days of 2013. Our plan is, of course, if the Lord wills, to go beyond that. But we want to be able to do this first year every single day. And that is our plan, is to give you a 5-minute sermon each and every day for the upcoming year. And I hope it will be a blessing to you. So here we go. Sermon number 1 for year 2013. And while I do think it is beneficial, like most sermons you'll hear this time of year, to look forward, what I want us to do is look back. Because while it is helpful to look forward, and that's what we're going to do with tomorrow's message, we miss out on so many lessons if we will not look back at the previous year at the mistakes we may have made. And the title of this message is Why You May Have Been a Failure in 2012. And the reason for that is simple. If you were a failure as a child of God, it would be that you did not put Christ first in your life. This message, the idea for this message comes from a passage in Mark chapter 10, verses 17 through 31, where we see the two types of people that exist in the world, saved people and lost people. The first one is the rich young ruler. He comes to Jesus Christ not knowing or understanding really who Christ is and what Christ can offer him. And he just wanted to know how he could inherit eternal life. And you can tell by the way that conversation went, he had really no clue about what eternal life was or what the value of it was. Because when Jesus said, go and sell what you have and give it to the poor, we know the rich young ruler just simply walked away sorrowful. The fact of the matter is, eternal life is worth far more than anything we could ever have in this life. So if Christ says to you, sell everything you have, give it to the poor, well, that's a great deal. But see, this rich young ruler didn't have any understanding of that, so he walked away sorrowful. The next one we had that was dealt with was Peter. And Peter looked at Christ and very sincerely, albeit wrongly, said, hey, Jesus, we have left everything and followed you. And Jesus scolded him a little bit and said, which of you have left houses? Which of you have left lands? Which of you have left family for me? Which of you puts me above any of those things? And Jesus concluded his remarks by saying, those who are last shall be first, and those who are first shall be last. And the point is of that passage is that Christ is supposed to be first. And here's the thing, if Christ is not first, we cannot be anything other than a failure if we are a Christian. And one of the reasons you may have been a failure in this past year is because you didn't look to Christ. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 2 talks about the fact that we are to look unto Jesus. Why? Because he is the author and finisher of our faith. And if we as Christians are not constantly looking to Christ, constantly reminding ourselves of what Jesus Christ did for us, how that for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame. You see, Jesus did those things for us. But what we tend to do, though, is we don't want to think about Christ in our life. We don't want to have anything to do with him, even if we're Christian. And what we begin to think is that we're something special. You see, Peter actually believed that he had forsaken all to follow Christ, when he had not. He still put other things ahead of Christ. And if you're watching this as a child of God, you know that nothing is supposed to be ahead of Christ. And if we do put things ahead of Christ, we will be a failure. The second thing that you may have done that would have caused you to be a failure in the past year is that you didn't worship Christ. And worship is done in a couple of ways according to the Scriptures. It's done through being at church. How many church services did you miss this year? How many times did you stay home when you could have been at church? How many people did you tell about Jesus Christ this year? How often did you put yourself on the line so that you could be a witness, so that you could be an example, so that you could teach someone more about Christ? How many times did you do that? Well, if you didn't do that this year, then you were a failure as a child of God. And then thirdly, the reason that you may have been a failure is because you weren't devoted to Christ. You see, our devotions are our prayer and our Bible study. That's, of course, where we talk to God. That is, of course, where we listen to God. And if we can't show basic devotion to Christ, how, as a child of God, can we be anything other than a failure? There's just absolutely no way that this can happen. In this past year, If you didn't look to Christ, you know why? Because you were looking at yourself. In this past year, if you weren't devoted to Christ, you know why? Because you were more devoted to yourself. Let me ask you this. Did you grow in 2012? You should have grown in 2012. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, I do those things. I read my Bible. I pray. I witness. I give. I attend church faithfully every time the doors are open. That's great. But you can never do enough for the Lord. He died for you. I hope 2013 will be a great year for you. I hope it's going to be a great year for me. I hope our church does great things for God. And I believe it will be if we'll put Christ first in 2013. All right, so that was sermon number 1 for the year 2013. I hope these will be a help to you. I would love for you, if you could, to subscribe to these videos. Lord willing, they're going to be there each and every day. And some days I'm going to have my children with me, like Natalie and Noelle. Some days I'm going to be in a suit. Maybe I'll be shooting these in my office. There's going to be a lot of different flavors to these sermons. I want them to be a blessing to you. I want them to be a help to you. So subscribe to this video. Also, please check out our church website, southsidewinterhaven.com. And if you are ever in the Winter Haven, Florida area, we would love to have you. God bless you and have a great day.